Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Where Is This Going? Today, we have the very hilarious Adam Degi on the podcast. You can follow him on Instagram and Twitter at Adam Degi. Follow him on Facebook, like his page. Adam is super hilarious. We didn't really get too much into the quote-unquote origin story that I usually do because we really just got sidetracked on too many opinion stuff, which makes sense. We all got opinions. That's why we're comedians. If you want to see Adam perform live, you can see him at the Backyard Show. I believe the Honorable Mentions comedy show, if there's still tickets, May 25th, right? 28. Damn it. May 28th. Check it out. Honorable Mentions Comedy, May 28th. Get a ticket if you can. They were sold out their last show, their first show back after the pandemic, so tickets will go fast. And yeah, we talked a lot about cancer and cancel culture. Adam is a melanoma survivor. We talked about the Move for Melanoma hashtag. It's a charity movement that him and his wife had started, and dude's a funny guy, and he's actually doing things for the community, which is, I mean, I'm not in the cancer community, so I don't really care, but I know people with cancer, so I do kind of care. But please enjoy the show, follow him, check him out. He'll be also recording his album at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, I believe January 11 through 13. I want to say that's when he's doing shows there. Once again, you'll hear it during the podcast, and I suck at remembering dates. Ask my history teacher. Enjoy the episode. All right. Here we go. This episode of Where Is This Going is brought to you by Off the Grid, house of the vintage and handcrafted and created in secret. Off the Grid is located at 2863 West Shore Drive, apartment 114, here in Holland, Michigan. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and now open on Sundays, noon to 5. Off the Grid has everything you need, from a new style to a new glass piece for your smoking. Alex and Bruce down there have curated a great selection of vintage apparel and premium glass, and you can even grab a snack while you're down there. It's a really great vibe. The whole thing is, like I said, curated with you in mind. Let them take care of you down there. And if you mention the podcast, Where Is This Going? Tell them we sent you and get 10% off any merchandise purchased in the store. And please check them out. Off the Grid, located at 2863 West Shore Drive, apartment 114, Holland, Michigan. And back to the show. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Where Is This Going? I'm your host, Hunter Miles, and this is Where Is This Going? A podcast about artists you may not know yet, but hopefully will soon grow to appreciate at the very least. And today, in the studio, we have the very funny Mr. Adam Degi of Grand Rapids. I mean, that's really all I know about him thus far.
That's all anybody knows, man.
How you doing, Adam?
I'm good.
Oh, yeah. Glad you could join us. This has been rescheduled. I'll address it.
Yes.
We were originally going to do Mother's Day, which was not a great choice, probably.
No.
Seeing as that we both have mothers. Well,
We do. And I saw my mom today, and in hindsight, probably could have just done the podcast.
exactly.
today.
I see my mom all the time.
No, she's great. My mother's phenomenal. But having said that, and I'd say this if I were a mother myself, and I think I'll say this if I'm ever a father, but it's just kind of an overrated,
Yeah, I mean,
If you appreciate me, just show me that appreciation on a random day. It doesn't need to be.
Yeah, let me know.
It's a manufactured holiday, just like all the rest of them, really.
Except for our birthdays. That's when you show me all the
Yes.
love.
Shower me with cash.
Coming from someone who doesn't even have their birthday on their Facebook profile.
Which is, I mean, who do you think you are? I think most people do that just because they don't want people to know how old they are, right? But you're still a youthful
I didn't
fella.
see your birth. This is what I was saying. I didn't see your birthday on your profile.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were talking about yourself.
No.
Oh, you're shooting shots.
I was doing a subliminal shot that really didn't get picked up. It was more of a.
I thought my birthday was on there.
I can pull up the receipts, but I did not see it. I knew when your birthday was roughly, just because you had said I'm going to be. Do you want me to disclose the age?
I'm 37 years old. I'm very
Exactly.
old.
Yes, very old.
I'm almost disappointed that it's not on there.
You got do the top one. Oh, top corner, right by your finger. Yep.
Like this?
No, by your picture. Your picture.
Nope. Nope.
I'm telling you, it's not there. Any Jew. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you, sir.
So you are 37. Did you grow up in Grand Rapids or the area?
I was born in GR.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I went to like Granville schools through like 4th grade, then moved on over to the big city, Whitehall, Michigan. Was there through high school and then came back.
Well, Whitehall's obviously more north, right? Or-
Yes. It's like 45 from GR.
I was gonna say anything with white in the name.
Muskegon. Yeah, I said to my parents, I was like, I don't want any color in my life.
Please move me away. I sat in the city for too long.
I want to be. Not only do I want to be surrounded by white people, but I want white to be in the title.
I want that. I want everyone who's not white to know that they're not welcome.
Yeah.
Put it in the name.
It makes me even more proud to say that my best friend to this day is not white, and I met him in Whitehall, and he's still black.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say. I don't know why.
The community has tried to gentrify him, but he's still black.
Well, you know what? They can change a lot, but has he moved? I feel like that's how you keep your blackness.
No, well, he's. Yeah, he doesn't live in Whitehall now. Now
Right.
he lives in Muskegon.
He wisened up. Nice.
Oh, he's black.
He's black, and he's got the address to prove it.
Yeah, his name's Julius. He's a good guy, but
You have to say that because he's
I don't know.
black, or
just because yeah, exactly. You know, I don't want to be canceled. No,
You don't
I mean,
have the
listen,
Wi-Fi, it's not gonna work.
if he's a good friend of mine and my high school best friend, clearly he's a good guy.
he's one of the good ones. You're right.
And as far as my birthday, if you follow me on social media, I think you know that I don't air any of my dirty laundry.
Yeah, you're not one
I
for
don't
fanfare.
I don't share any personal things.
Nothing about your health. Or,
I don't talk about opinions or health or I keep things to myself.
Right, of course.
So it makes perfect sense that I wouldn't have my birthday on.
As
there.
all comedians should. You
Yeah.
keep all of your best opinions, I'd say, to yourself.
I
So-
talk about too much, I think.
Did you graduate from Whitehall?
I did.
Okay.
I graduated back in 2003.
Jeez.
Yeah, we're coming up on 20 years. I mean, and
Are you going?
Nobody does like the reunions anymore, I think. I was
Really?
talking about this at breakfast with that mom we were talking about. And I don't even know. I think your class presidents are in charge of that. They never organize shit. I don't know who would pay to rent a space or how that even works, but we never, even a 5-year. It's never, nothing has ever
Yeah.
happened. And I'm kind of
I
glad.
went to Zealand East. We were the Zealand East Chicks. So we were supposed to have a Chicks year reunion on the 6th year.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know what you want to call it. I'll call it corny. You can choose your word. But I reached out personally because I'm friends still with our class president. We're still young, so no one's completely
Right.
whatever. Any Jew. And she was just like, no, I'm not organizing this.
Why would you?
She goes, if you want to, you can organize it.
Well,
I
you
said,
know, the reason I think that they ever were a thing as far as high school reunions is that, you know, this was pre-social media.
Right, exactly.
Pre-smartphone. So unless you had somebody's phone number or you still hung out with them and you were a close personal friend,
You didn't know what they were doing.
You didn't know how they were. Let's be honest. The whole reason we appreciate social media is the same reason people appreciated high school reunions, because you wanted to see who was doing worse than you.
Exactly.
That's all it comes down to.
I need a baseline to see I'm
Yes,
better than. Yeah.
Exactly. Because you look in the mirror and you're like, should I do this another day? Probably not.
And now
but somebody out there has it worse than me.
And now we don't
I'm
have
gonna find that
reunions.
person. No.
Now we don't have reunions because we're on Facebook and we see every day
Every
that.
day's a reunion.
And everyone's life is, probably a little bit better than mine. So I don't want to see
Well,
them rub it in my face.
Social media it's an exaggeration of,
Well,
of good and
obviously.
bad. So either people are making their life sound worse, or people are making, especially comics. I mean, especially Saturday night. Every Saturday night on social media is how great the show was. Everybody crushed. Panties were thrown on stage.
Panties dropped. I killed.
Everybody made $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. None of the shows were that good. I mean, I'm sure they were fun, but let's pump.
I'm sure it was a great time.
Thing. We all do the same thing.
Exactly, especially even a show that you went to that you weren't
Which
on.
we
It was
needed.
a hell of a show.
We need that kind of positivity, so continue to do that.
I
but
mean, we need
it's-
other people to come to our shows.
It's all bullshit, man.
well,
But
that's social
what-
media.
That's I think the reason that the high school reunions aren't nearly as popular anymore. Because why would you go to see how somebody's doing in person when you could just find out on social media? You know.
Right. Now, do you, besides Julius, do you hang out with or talk to anyone from high school still?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say.
Do you have any more black friends?
I thought you were gonna say besides Julius. Do you talk to anybody else that's not white?
That's not white.
Other
Anyone
than
with a little
myself?
melanin? You had a long day on the disc golf course, or maybe just camping with friends and don't want to struggle in search of the perfect edible to elevate the fun? Well, Pearly Baker Edibles has you covered with their new and convenient day trip box and campfire box. Each one has just enough variety for any cannabis consumer's palate, and you can share with a friend or just enjoy alone. The day tripping box has the jerky and lighthearted lemonade, each medicated at 100 milligrams of THC. The Gone Nuts, which is a delicious sweet and spicy deluxe nut treat at 150 milligrams of THC, and the Fruit by the Milligram, delicious fruit leather with 50 milligrams of THC. And that's for like your normal day trip to a disc golf course, out with friends. And then there's the campfire box, which is the perfect s'mores kit. As the Coco Loco bar, which is 200 milligrams of THC, the Smoosh Mallow and Stoned Cocoa, each at 100 milligrams of THC, and graham crackers, perfect for that stoned s'mores. Pearly Baker Edibles are made with whole flower in small batches for your best experience, and they can be found on Instagram in storefronts across Michigan and with cannabis delivery services. Follow them on Instagram at Pearly Baker Edibles, and we thank you for being a sponsor, and please let them know that we sent you, and you can receive a free peach ring. The best thing what I like most about Pearly Baker Edibles is the play on the traditional snacks that we had as kids growing up, and you'll see that with your free peach ring if you tell them we sent you. So, thank you. Back to the show. Funny enough, while we're on melanin, yesterday, and through today, you can still participate. This won't be out. This will be passed. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
But the
We can
move
talk
for
about it.
the move for melanoma movement.
Yeah, man, it's gonna happen next year too, so we
Of
can
course.
talk about it. But my wife and I started like an annual virtual 5K last year because it was right in smack dab in the middle of COVID, which
Right.
I don't know which way your viewers lean, but was real. Certainly was a thing that happened.
And I hope this isn't news to you.
And so I had melanoma, and I know that a lot of other people probably know somebody who's had skin cancer. But
My mom. Yeah.
right, I also knew that there's a lot of misconceptions about skin cancer, and people just don't know shit.
Right.
And they should know things because, I mean, it's,
Everyone's susceptible.
Right. So I just wanted to do something to help spread awareness. So I did it during Skin Cancer Awareness Month, which is the month of May, which also happens to be the month of my birthday.
And
so
no one
goes
knows
together.
that, by the way. No one knows that
No.
the month of May is
there's-
Skin Cancer Awareness Month.
Every month has so many things that people, short of the holidays,
I thought a different
people don't know shit.
I thought a different ethnicity had this month. to be honest.
They probably do.
I mean, the Mexicans kick it off at Cinco de
Yeah,
Mayo,
we share.
which is actually America kicking it off
We all share a lot of months.
in the name of Mexico.
But
yeah, I mean,
so we do a virtual 5K,
Of
which
course.
Eventually maybe it's going to be everybody in person, but I think it's actually easier and maybe better this way because people can do it from different states. Like I had a buddy, who shared a picture after his 5K from Florida. People in other states around the country. You could do it anywhere else in the world if you wanted to.
right, and you don't. Yeah, because you don't have to. A virtual 5K, you don't have to come to a meeting place.
For a weekend, Friday through Sunday, we give people an opportunity to do their own 5K, which you can run, jog, skate. You can do literally whatever you want, or just lie and say you did it and post a selfie after the fact with the hashtag we provide, and just help spread awareness that way. And then you can also donate to the Skin Cancer Foundation through a link that we get through the foundation. So. It's good karma, if nothing else. And I think there's just, like I said, there's a lot of shit people don't understand about skin cancer. And also people think that, it's funny because in the beginning I even had jokes about it because I didn't know. But people think that skin cancer is like, oh, well, that's, of all the cancers, that's the one you want.
That's the best one,
And
right?
it's like, it's actually one of the worst.
Right.
Because if it gets past the surface of your skin, putting it in stage 3 in the lymph nodes or in stage 4 in like your organs, then it's kind of, it's something you're going to have to deal with your entire life.
Yeah.
You can like get rid of it either through surgery and treatment, but then like 5 years or 10 years later, it could come back.
Right.
And melanoma is different from other cancers because a lot of shit you can do the treatment and then be in remission. And the further you get from treatment, the
higher your chances are.
The less the chances are for a lot of cancers.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean.
So, like, if you get 10 years down the road, the chances of it coming back are minimal. But melanoma, the further you get from treatment, the greater the chances are. So that sucks.
Plus,
but I'm trying to help people avoid being in my situation or even worse, somebody in stage 4. So if you've got something weird on your skin, get it looked at. If a mole looks different from other moles or if it's not symmetrical on both sides, that could be a sign. If it's darker than the rest or it has gotten darker over time, that's a sign. If it's gotten bigger or changed shape, these are all things you want to keep in mind and just get that shit looked at, man. You probably have gone to the clinic and had the doctor look at your genitalia,
Right. I mean,
just because you don't, like, if
Mostly my
something's
butt.
on your shoulder, just because you don't fuck with your shoulder, you should still get that looked at. Right?
Yeah, the word dermatologist shouldn't sound too expensive to check it out.
No, I mean, depending on what your health insurance is or if you have any. But even if, worry about that later,
Right.
You could accumulate a lot of medical bills and just die with those bills and you don't ever have to pay them. But you at least want to try to live long.
You'd be surprised the amount of debt you can accrue before. Well, I mean, legally they have to do something, but
I don't know if they can garnish your wages for medical debt, though,
for medical
can they?
stuff. I don't know. I know legal stuff they can.
Of course.
Child support they will.
I would have a hard time believing though that like if
but I mean,
say if a fellow like myself did a year worth of treatment and that shit is, you guys think gas prices have gone up. You should see the price of fucking cancer treatment. And I didn't even have to do chemo or radiation. I was doing immunotherapy, which is kind of the opposite, but still like $15,000 an IV bag, very expensive. It was like $2,000 with insurance or something, which is still a lot. I mean,
okay,
I've got
money bags. Jeez, go on.
No, I've got bills stacked up, man. You make payments, but please pay me that if someone if there's like a sugar mama or daddy. I couldn't care
We're
less
open.
which gender you are if you're gonna pay my bills. But yeah, very expensive. And but what I was getting to is I don't think like if you went through a year of treatment and then you were in remission and then started working again and you're waiting for your first paycheck, like what the fuck? Oh, the government actually took that.
Yeah,
that would pay for your chemo. You fucking deadbeat.
Wait,
I don't think they can do that, but I don't know.
I don't think they can, but I mean maybe a civil suit, but
sure.
Yeah, from the hospital.
But these fucking
I know.
Whoever's
It's greedy.
making-
It's greedy
Oh yeah. Well, just big pharma and the medical industry
Yeah.
in America in general.
for sure.
I mean, they're doing okay.
Yeah, believe me, I know my sister had, especially when you talk about it getting to the lymph nodes. My sister had Hodgkin's lymphoma as I want to say a child. She was like 11, 12, and was fine in remission for like over almost 15 years. I think I want to say over 15 years, and then got breast cancer. Yeah, came back right after she had twins.
Christ, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least it was after, I guess. But
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she's fine now. We're good. We're cool beans. I'll say that, and she'll get cancer again, and then I'll have to delete this episode.
Fuck cancer, though, man. That's
I know it's rough. But we
just
can
never know.
Why did you get it?
Why did I get it?
Yeah, why'd you do it? Was you were you a comedian first?
The doctor said it was a combination of an abnormally large penis and an abundance of talent.
I think we've all been there.
I think it's I don't maybe you could be more prone to certain type of cancers genetically, but
right.
nobody else in my family had it, so it certainly wasn't that. I'm sure studies have been done to find out if you are more prone to cancer in general or certain types of other people in your family tree have had it.
Diseases and stuff too. Yeah.
For me, I a lot of the misconceptions about melanoma or skin cancer are that it's like solely from exposure to the sun, but it's not necessarily, because I was never a take your shirt off in public in front of the sun guy.
You seem like you have the confidence.
I had no. So it's just a mole I had since I was like a kid, which was another thing. So I never thought about it, because some people think it'll just be like a mole that pops up one day and they're like, what the fuck is this? And then they find out it's skin cancer. But you could have some shit your whole life and then it just changes and becomes melanoma. So that's something you can think
It had
about.
started to grow or change shape?
It changed like shape and color and size. And I mean, I people had said for years, I hate to think about it, but people had said for years, like, you should get that looked at. And I was kind of like, yeah.
It's the same one.
Shut up.
You don't know my body.
But it was fine for years, I think. And then, 2 or 3 years ago, my wife was like, yeah, you should. She reminded me. And then finally I said, I should go look. And, fortunately, I found out before it was further than the lymph nodes, and it was just in a few, but like the depth, because it, melanoma is not just on the surface of your skin. It's like under, and so they had to take a good amount of skin from my back, and then because of the depth, I'm at a higher risk of it coming back, because they put them in like stage 3 is in like 3 categories, like A, B, or C, and I think I was B, so it's not the worst, but not the best.
But yeah, it just wasn't completely into the lymph nodes.
Yeah, but I don't. I mean, that's the thing, man. There's been thousands of studies done that show like, if you eat sugar, or I'm sure alcohol.
All these processed
people say you
stuff.
can't drink a bottle of water if it's been sitting in the sun. So many things, dude. This fucking thing that I put up to my face 6 hours a day.
Hold next to our balls.
I held it like this.
Right.
I never talk on the phone. It's like this, and I'm staring at it.
FaceTiming from like this, maybe.
Texting or gambling. But yeah, so I don't know, man. I mean, it's probably a combination of some exposure to the sun and then just whatever the fuck else.
Yeah,
but it's not even.
Genetics and
It's
shit.
not. And then having said that, like your sister or these poor kids, even before 12 or however old. They're born with cancer,
right?
Or when they're fucking 1 year old. So I mean, they didn't even have. It's not like they had bad eating habits or didn't exercise or any of these.
They couldn't have been exposed to so much.
So who knows, man? I mean, I think it's just if there is a God, he hates us.
Yeah,
or there isn't a God.
I think there's an argument to be made.
I don't know if you ever get this deep on this podcast.
Oh no, we definitely have. I mean, I'm pro God. That's been my argument, but I'm not.
So you think he just hates us?
I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to that notion. I do believe, I do believe in
Pro God.
I do.
I love it.
I mean, specifically Jesus. I'm pro Jesus.
Yes.
Son of God. But I do believe there is definitely some weight to the genetic predisposition, because my sister had lymphoma. years later, I'm getting something on my arm looked at. It was like a cellulitis or something, I think. And the doctor takes a look, like my family doctor takes a look at my mom's leg and goes, "Have you ever had that looked at? Like, she has a big mole right here." And she was like, "No." Oh, my bad.
You good?
He was like, "Has it always been that big?" She goes, "I mean, not really. It has kind of, because it was like,
Right.
it was a large, like, protruding mole." And they took, like, he wanted to remove it right there. So, and my mom
And
hates.
they will.
Yeah, and my mom hates needles. So that was the whole ordeal, especially since we just went in there
But
for
I mean,
my.
they'll numb you up, and you don't have to look. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
the worst.
It was rough, but yeah, they took it out, sent it in for a biopsy. It was cancerous.
Right.
So, I mean, whenever you get it checked, it's never okay. Well, I can't say it's never too late, but always, if you see something, say something.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think that's what they say in New York.
As soon as possible.
Right. Yeah, as soon as you notice something. Why did I say it's never too late? That just prolong it.
Well, it's you gotta. I've used this analogy before, but you've gotta. The mindset has to be like a Karen. Like you live in a neighborhood with mostly white people, and you see something that's darker than the rest of the things, and
darker
bigger,
than the background. Yeah.
and just because of that, you assume this is dangerous, and you call the police. But
If it's on your body.
in this case, you call a dermatologist.
Yes. And once again,
So
sounds
you-
expensive. But.
Take the racism that you'd use against people and just transfer that into moles.
Now, are you saying black people can't get skin cancer?
No, I think they certainly can, but I do know that they're less likely.
Right. I know this is,
Because
that's also a myth of sunburn. Like, black people can't get sunburn. No, we can. I mean,
100%.
I'm not a great example.
No.
But
You're
my stepdad's.
yeah. There's darker blacks.
Yeah, there's darker blacks than I.
But no, I think any skin complexion can technically get sunburn and technically get skin cancer, but it's for sure
More common.
for sure whiteys
in the whites.
It's killing a lot more white people. Which,
Finally, you have a plight.
even as someone who has stage 3 cancer and is at a higher risk of getting stage 4 or stage 3 cancer again in the future, I will say that I think it's anything that kills mostly white people is probably good for the world.
Exactly. So I think we need to be aware of it. Not necessarily do we need to stop it.
We don't want to get rid of it altogether.
Exactly. If we could focus it, actually.
Just make an effort, to the point that people are like they're trying.
Right. Yeah. I won't. They're not killing all the whitey. Right. So yeah, if any way we can weaponize melanoma,
Right,
I think that's actually what the melanoma research is for. Is to weaponize it.
Well, I mean that would. Yeah, I gotta. But how do we know they're not already doing that?
I believe they are. They look at you.
Right.
They saw
me,
big
they're
talent
like,
in that
they
platform.
saw me. They were like, "Hey, this guy got booked a few more places this year. He's got some steam here.
He's picking up steam. Stop him in his tracks.
He's starting to show signs of happiness and confidence. Let's fucking shove this cancer cock right down his throat."
He was just settling down with his wife, thinking about having a kid.
Yeah, and then
Got saved by the cancer. When did you start comedy? How long have you been doing stand-up?
oh god, it's funny because when you first start, you round up to sound cool.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Like if you've
I
been
say
doing-
2.5 years.
Right. If you've been doing it 1.5, you're like 2.5. Yeah. Then you do it for over a decade. You start rounding down because people just assume
Like you didn't make it yet.
time
so-
equals success.
Right.
No matter the market, they're like, well, if you haven't been on television, you've been doing it over 10 years, like you must suck. Which isn't necessarily the case. Certainly the case for me, but not for everybody. But yeah, I've been I mean, I started comedy like as far as the first open mic I did, probably 15 years ago.
Wow.
How long have I been doing comedy? Couple months.
Shut up. How long have I been like work? How long have I been working on it? Like real hard, past 3 months. Yeah.
In totality, how much effort have I given it in terms of Years? 6 months.
I mean, it's 6 months of good hard work. After that, maybe you can have a career. What got you? Well, I mean, we'll backtrack a little bit. Were you growing up at all with comedy in the house?
I mean, I personally was an idiot. So my old man was like, it's cliche to say dad jokes now, and sounds lame because it's become a thing. But he was a fan of the jokes, but he wasn't like a fan. He was a musician. He actually played the drums, and was always an artistic dude. Like etched glass. He made art glass for a living. Had owned his own art glass studio, and then that went under.
Dang, not a big.
And then
market.
he worked for another company, etching glass, and he was always a musician. And so he was an artistic guy. He liked the arts, and he appreciated comedy. But I don't remember him listening to comedy. You hear a lot of comics talk about my dad used to listen to these comedy albums in the house, and they'd always be on.
Robin Williams, and Pryor.
My old man didn't do that. He was listening to music all the time. But I think I got my sense of humor for him, and my mom too also has a dry sense of humor. Let's give her credit as well.
Right.
She was funny too, but I was just kind of a class clown and an idiot, and I was never. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not what you'd call a fighter. More of an idiot.
Yeah, same.
I'm the guy who was my friends would fight, and I'd be in the corner yeah, that's right, you stupid fuck. Cracking jokes.
Right.
Not actually fighting. Cause
my first fight,
bitch,
my first fight was almost exactly that. And I just got roped into it. My friend Shelby and I, a girl in 6th grade, were talking shit, mostly her, about this kid. And he turns around and just punches me in the face.
Of course. Because he's a gentleman.
And I believe our voices sounded similar. And so he was just like, I don't know which one of you said it. I'm taking a guess. And thankfully, I had larger friends then who stepped in. And I never really got...
Ed DeVoog.
Yeah. I had Ed DeVoog there to back me up. He was actually my gym teacher.
Yeah.
And so I never really got messed with too much, especially from him. But it was always from me running my mouth and shit.
Right.
And then a little bit later, some more black kids joined my gym class. And
fuck yeah, dude.
Fuck him. That's how that went.
Yes, sir.
No one wrestled me.
I was the quote unquote class clown, which is the most cliche thing you can say as a comic, but I really was.
Right.
And in the yearbook, in senior yearbook, I was voted class comedian. So that's when I knew first of all, whatever people think of you in high school, that's what you have to be the rest of your life.
That's what really matters. And so if you were shitty in high school, that's because you are shit.
Which I remember there was another kid. He was voted class sexual predator, and he is now.
And that makes sense.
Yeah.
We'll put his handle right here.
So, yeah, we all know who he is. But, yeah, I was kind of an idiot, and I was always a smart ass, either to get out of fights or to just, I would, my whole life I think my priorities were always wrong, and I'd be more, when I should have been studying or,
right,
learning and listening in class, I'd be thinking of what's funny? How do I make this funny? How do I make fun of this person? Constantly.
Right.
But I wasn't, when I say that, don't think that I was never big and strong and cool enough to be a bully. I was getting picked on, like most comics.
Defending yourself with words.
But yeah, you learn how to hurt people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
verbally in order to defend yourself.
Because that's what small people do.
Exactly.
I'm small, but not in the traditional sense. I'm fairly
kind of tall. Yeah,
I'm fairly gangly. I don't know if you've realized this. Some call it lanky. I call it lack of strength.
What's the tree character from the
Groot?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got a little Groot.
I'll take a little Groot. Guys got some wood.
Mm-hmm.
I was never a fighter, but I used comedy to deflect and defend, but mostly as a social point.
Same, dude, because and still to this day, and I don't think people would believe it or make the assumption, and I think most comics are like this, where I'm still to this day more comfortable in front of even 300 strangers on stage than I would be in like a social setting of like 10 people I just met.
Right. Definitely.
I've got some like undiagnosed, but I know social anxiety. And I think that part of why I was always try to be funny was like to crack the ice or to make things more comfortable for myself selfishly. And that's kind of how I did it. Where everybody else would be serious or at least like, I don't know, probably dudes trying to hook up with chicks. And I was,
they're trying to be the cool ones.
Making jokes instead. Which is part of the reason I'm still a virgin. But
that's the reason for no kids. I was gonna ask, but
well, no, that is because occasionally I will hip check my wife down the steps.
Or just into the banister, just so she.
Listen, before I get canceled, if anybody is physical, it is my wife, and
he's got the bruises to prove
I'm afraid
it.
of her.
I've never met. Should I say her name?
You can say my.
I've never met Nikki.
She's scary.
I don't doubt it.
She's a lovely lady and she's precious, but she.
Because I see you out of the house an awful lot.
Yeah,
and,
she's from Saginaw. Well, listen, she doesn't know I'm gone, so we'll have to delete this. I tell her I'm going out back to water the grass.
Water the grass.
She's like, at 8?
For the first 5 minutes, I'm just pissing on it.
Then I just,
dip into the car, put it in neutral.
Yeah, I tuck her in, put her to sleep, and then I'm off with the boys.
Okay, I forgot. Okay, class clown. Did you go to college?
I did not. We were talking earlier about like the class reunion thing.
Right.
You asked if I still had friends from high school. I do. Probably like 3 or 4 I stay in touch with regularly, and then there's probably another 4 or 5 that I'm like close enough with that they'd like invite me to a wedding. Whether or not I went, I don't know. But because I never, that second group of friends, which I think is why the camaraderie in comedy is so appreciated and half the reason people start and continue to do it. It's I mean, if you're starting comedy for to be famous and rich, you're starting it for the wrong reason, and it's not going to happen for everybody. So
you shouldn't also just start it to have friends, but
yeah, I never made that college group of friends. So you lose touch with high schoolers, and then it becomes people you meet via work or hobby / dream like comedy, which I mean, so most of my friends now, obviously I met through comedy.
Right.
But I don't know. I feel like a lot of people don't have as close. I mean, the older you get, obviously it's the same
Everyone
for everybody.
loses
But
those.
like my wife, speaking of her, she's weirdly has like 10 friends from high school she's still very close with. They have like a weekend every year. They meet and hang out, and they see each other whenever they can.
Girls' weekend?
Yeah, I know. They've stayed very close though, which especially for. I'm not generalizing all girls, but a lot of the girls I've met, and my wife would agree, girls can be very petty, and you could hold a grudge from high school, like, oh, she fucked so and so, and I will never talk to that person again.
But at least it's a talking point every time you guys meet up.
So they have all managed to stay close.
Hell yeah.
And that's not the norm. And I've got 2 or 3 friends I'm still pretty cool with from high school. But I don't know. People just get older, man.
Right.
You'll see.
No, I'm aware.
And you've got a. Do your listeners know you've reproduced?
I have a child. Yes,
Okay.
yes, I believe.
So
if I haven't,
you've already seen because just people don't have kids, and then the people who do have kids probably aren't going to hang out with those people very much
right?
anymore. Or even you get separated by couples. I can remember being the third wheel, which I kind of miss. But no,
we're looking for a third wheel now.
People start doing couple things, or only activities with other people who have fucking kids, and,
right?
I mean, we all separate, and then you just what has always bothered me, and I'm rambling now, and I was even trying to do bits about this, but like it bothers me that people. You get to a certain age where you just have your group of friends, and then you're fine with that, and you're okay with that, and then it never changes. When in reality, we should be updating our friends,
right?
Similar to like an oil change, or maybe not that frequent, but like a cell phone.
Yeah.
if your friend, if you have because we all let
a 2-year contract.
We all let friends linger, and you may be the friend, but like who you don't. It's it's one sided. You're doing a lot more for this friendship than they are.
Right.
You know, they're not giving as much as you're giving. There's no effort from them. Maybe there's a lot of effort from you. Why don't you replace that friend?
Exactly.
You know?
It's reached its
and
point.
I honestly think people just get to an age where they're certainly people even have an attitude about it. Like I've got enough friends.
Right.
I've got enough friends, and I don't need any more.
No new friends. There was a song.
Yeah. But why not? We should always be looking to get better friends and fucking tell other people like, hey, dude, I love you, but you suck as a friend,
It's learning new stuff, too, because
right.
I mean, obviously, we have friends who enlighten us and bring things into our lives, but at what point are they going to run out of new shit?
No, and
I need someone else who knows shit.
It's probably, over the course of the last 5 years, it's probably been harder for me than ever to, not just completely say, I want nothing to do with this person because unfortunately, because of politics.
Right.
But when I say politics, that bothers me too, is when people are like, don't lose friends over politics. Well, politics, are we disagreeing on policies?
Right. Are we disagreeing on human rights?
Taxes? Or are we disagreeing on human rights? Or people who think all gays go to hell and they're homophobic and transphobic or blatantly racist?
Right.
That's a deal breaker. That's not negotiable.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's not like, oh, I root for the Tigers and you root for the Minnesota Twins, but we could still be friends.
The Twins aren't trying to kill my trans friends.
Yeah,
I don't know
exactly.
Exactly.
When it comes to that shit, I
You're right. I don't know much about Minnesota or their trans agenda.
For that type of shit, not only will I tell a former friend to fuck off, I've legitimately, I can't say disowned because it's not like I wasn't.
They're not mine to own.
I wasn't in charge of keeping cousins alive.
Right.
But I've certainly blocked them.
Right.
From social media.
Disassociated.
And have no association with them.
Right. Yeah.
Because of their beliefs and the way they think. And I'm okay with that.
Same.
The whole blood is thicker than water thing. I guess. But I don't care.
But also, what's considered water? I don't
exactly. And I don't. So many people I still hear, talk about my mom or my dad still thinks this and still says this, but he's my dad and that's just the way he is. And no, fuck that.
Right.
Tell him this is stupid.
If your dad was just saying that about you, would you just be like, ugh?
I can't believe how many people just tolerate it. Fortunately for me, my dad is dead. And
Amen.
he died way before,
way before the gays.
2016 election, so I didn't even have to worry about knowing. And he was a hippie, and he was definitely on the other side of things.
Say,
so
he seemed like a hippie.
He wouldn't have been that guy.
Yeah, but
he
also
wouldn't have been that guy. But still, I mean, it's just it's got to suck, man, to be in that position where you have a close relative or a friend or parent that is just blatantly racist or homophobic, and you feel like you can't say anything because you pass it off as, well, that's just the way, that's how they grew up and they were raised, and that's just the way they are. No, I don't fucking care how old they are, why they think that way. They shouldn't think that way,
and you shouldn't feel. Okay,
you shouldn't feel like you have to accept it or be okay with it because they're your elder,
or tiptoe around it, or
right.
You can be. There's no reason in not telling them that it's wrong, especially if you if you truly believe, and doing whatever you can to just head them off wherever they're going. I
mean, obviously, I'm not asking anybody to cut
kill.
Ties with
I thought you meant to kill.
Parents.
Okay, kill your dad.
But
that's what Adam did.
Yeah,
before he could vote in the election.
He was just kind of on the fence. He's like, listen, I don't hate the gays, but should they get married? And next thing you know, he's in the dirt. I told you, Dad. I told you 3 strikes and you're out. I gave you 2 warnings. Next thing you know, I'm smothering you with a pillow.
And now you know my stance on immigration. Wait, gay marriage. I don't. He didn't like the Mexicans either.
I don't know, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so the older you get, I think you should just it's easier. You realize that friends and even family is kind of.
It's all
I
a
don't want to
loose
say
term,
replaceable,
kind of.
but like, what do you walk on eggshells for?
It's
And
definitely expandable.
it's also a cop out when people say that, like, oh, we can't just you can still have friends you disagree with. Sure, like I said,
Yeah.
as long as it's a negotiable disagreement.
Right. As long as you can make a viable argument, then we can disagree.
Right.
Yeah. If I can agree to disagree with you,
Right,
that's
but
fine.
if you're comparing people protesting and even looting because people that look like them keep getting murdered,
right.
to people who stormed the Capitol because the person they voted for didn't win, and saying that they're the same. Then I'm sorry.
And they're justified by the
I'm
same
not
reasoning.
gonna continue to be okay with you because we disagree. That's a non-negotiable
Right.
disagreement. Sorry.
Well, as a white man, you're taking a pretty questionable stance, but
You know what? I had cancer. That puts me in the group of minorities.
that's
Okay? Right?
say it. You can say it,
What was I going to say?
nigga. Were you gonna drop the
I
hard
said I
R?
had cancer. I said, there's no amount of cancer I think that would make it okay for me to just... Can you imagine?
Can you imagine that it just turned you black? Actually,
What's up, hey, I got cancer.
Oh, so you're ready to die?
Oh,
Is
so
that what
you're easier for us to get rid of?
exactly?
Yeah.
So, after graduating from the Great Whitehall
Well, Vikings, baby.
Vikings, that's what you are.
Yes, sir.
Nice. Better than chicks. I'll give you
Speaking
that.
of a group of people who were actually really terrible humans, the Vikings were.
So many mascots, though. There's so many mascots. And I get the racial tension over and the racist connotations behind the Redskins and maybe the Cleveland Indians. I don't know, but the Vikings are just a malicious group.
Yes, but it's at least
Being celebrated. I get raping,
Right, I
raping
guess
and
they're
pillaging. It's whatever. We were all doing
well,
it.
I mean,
we were all doing it.
yeah, it's different from like the Redskins because that's essentially a slur.
Like, that's what we were calling them.
Should we celebrate the Vikings? I mean, should we celebrate Christopher Columbus? Probably not.
It all comes back down to cancel
Well,
all
we
travelers.
can't cancel everything at once. Space them out.
Soon enough, straight white men won't even.
But I mean, I think that's
be able to
the
say
whole
anything.
point, right? Is that like, hey, we're the Vikings.
Did I do clickbait
we're
right?
Strong, and we know. Yeah, you did it right. If we start looking into everything, I mean, well, and now that they're like, and I'm all for it. Don't get me wrong. Like the changes, of the logos of these companies and stuff, and like, oh, we did our research and we found out that historically the like roots or the beginnings of this company are racist.
Yeah.
They probably are, but unfortunately, probably 80% of companies that have been around since before the 50s.
Exactly.
are
Pretty
probably-
racist.
Yeah.
All-
Which sucks, man.
All household names.
But we can't start all over at once.
Exactly.
Eventually.
If anything, we need to. I don't think we need to necessarily cancel old things. Let's just push new things.
Yeah, push new things. And I mean, you
Push
can change,
black-owned
you can
things
change
if you
your
wanna-
name and logo. That's fine.
Yeah. Go ahead.
do
Make it less racist if you want.
Right.
I mean, it's preferred, but we can also
Because I mean,
promote new
the
things.
beginnings of that company, as far as the people are dead.
Right. And it was
So I would hope
again
that
in the times.
things got more progressive as time went. Although that's clearly not happening because we know
I have an interesting I don't know. I
the
just
same
thought-
dumb beliefs are taught over and over and
Yeah.
over again. And
now.
speaking of bad genetics,
No, this has been an argument in comedy. Things that were said and done years ago in the time, in the context, the social context was completely different.
Right.
It was fine to make these jokes, but do you think an apology? Do you think an apology from all of those jokes or for all of those jokes are necessary, or
Like
the same way.
Are you saying should comics apologize for things they said like 30 years ago?
Right. I mean, the same way that companies should maybe rebrand.
No, because well, here's the thing is we all know the difference between like a quote unquote racist joke and something that was just like taken out of context that wasn't meant to, like, if you're telling a joke to make everybody laugh that's based on race or a stereotype,
Right.
that's one thing, which black comics and white comics and Hispanic comics and Asian comics can do and have done. But if you're telling a joke at the expense of a race and you're only looking for one race, especially
Right.
you know,
And that wasn't
most likely white people to laugh, then that's
Yeah.
probably not okay.
And that wasn't okay at any time, usually.
No.
Right.
No, but it was certainly more tolerated.
Exactly. Yeah,
What's
yeah.
crazy, dude, is like, you know, I was one of my, I don't want to say idols, but a guy that I think a lot of people, especially that do roast or, which isn't me either, but like a Don Rickles.
Right.
There's no fucking way that dude could do any of that shit now.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't know. Having said that, I don't know Don Rickles personally, but I think the people that knew Don Rickles wouldn't say that he was a racist or that he was trying to just make white people laugh, because I think everybody was laughing, but he certainly was saying shit that you could not say and probably shouldn't say
Right.
now. And I think it's all case by case basis. And that we just had this recent thing with, you know, Hinchcliffe and shit.
Right.
And I mean, there's different arguments for why it was okay and why it wasn't and shit. And I don't know. For me, it's like, as far as slurs, I mean, we're talking what, 6 or 8 words in
Right.
the English language you can't say. How hard is it?
How hard
not
is it to
say those fucking words?
Stay away.
Like, it's not even a race thing.
Right.
But when you look at it from a purely a comedic perspective, which is why I have like a lot of problems with like these right wing personalities or these pundits who are like quote unquote comics are supposed to be, and they're doing all this super hack racist shit.
It's poor writing.
My issue is obviously it's racist first, but secondly and more importantly for my comedy brain is that it's hack. It's poor writing. It's lazy.
Exactly.
And it's so a slur is always just it's just hack and lazy and fucking there's only so many words that you know you can't say. Why are you still, how hard is it not to?
My take was even go with a lesser slur and it would it would have been fine.
Honestly though, I mean it's
not fine, but
then, you know,
wouldn't have been as big of a miss on that swing.
I don't know, dude. And if the person you were talking about who was just on stage is after the fact very upset and clearly he didn't find it funny and you weren't cool enough with that person or good enough friends to say that, and it doesn't matter the context or what was said before, why you said those things, the fact is you said it, and even if as a comic or anybody, even if you can make a compelling argument that this is why he should be able to say that, it doesn't matter. You know what's going to happen.
You know the consequences.
You know it's 2021.
Exactly.
You know things are different. Whether or not you think they should be or they shouldn't be.
You can give it all the context.
You know what's going to happen.
There was one thing you
People
shouldn't have
been,
done.
quote unquote, canceled or dropped by their label or management or whatever the fuck for lesser things. So why the fuck are you doing it, dude? You know what's going to happen.
And maybe, one more defense for Tony. Because, I mean...
You were just in Austin.
I met him. It was coul. But...
We had lunch together.
I smoked a cigarette near him. They had done shows together, but I forgot what I was going to say, but now I remembered, but I'll go back to that. They had done shows together before.
Right.
And so you would think there was some kind of rapport,
something.
But so you would think that he would say something to him like afterward.
Right.
Like saying, hey, that wasn't cool. Before posting it.
Yeah.
Especially. And in Tony's defense, once again, he didn't know it was being recorded.
No,
Which
but that's another thing.
Yes.
Everything's always being recorded. Cops are murdering people on
exactly.
camera.
And they're like, who saw that? What the
I
fuck?
mean, but maybe that was the defense is, well, cops are murdering people on camera and getting away with it. I can't get away with saying this on camera.
I can't get away with just saying.
But
You're right. We all look the same.
I mean, and then it seems like every time this happens and somebody gets, canceled.
it's very short. Well,
Then
using that
you
very
start
lightly,
looking
canceled.
into like what do other people think about this person.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, it's always like, yeah, that guy's always kind of been a dick and a narcissist and whatever the fuck. It's very rarely like, if we heard like Tom Hanks say this and it seemed out of character or some shit, you'd be like, oh, wait, what? Him?
I'd love to hear that recording.
Yeah,
though.
but it's, I don't know. It's after the fact, it seems like, and obviously people are only going to say, there is people out there who just want to bury somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And
Definitely.
And I'm not agreeing. Do I think his career should be over and the dude should be ruined? Of course not.
Right.
I think as a society we need to agree. We need to come to an agreement. I don't know how the fuck we'd ever do it, but like we need to agree like what deserves forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, as far as like non-consensual sex, murder, all those things.
Right.
Obviously, I couldn't. Those people, fuck off forever. We don't care. But like. From
perjury on.
Something like Louis C.K., where he's masturbating in front of people, as far as we know, without their permission, or saying something that was racist or, could have been perceived to be racist.
Right. In an attempt at...
when and how do those people deserve forgiveness? So they can be back in the public eye and like... I don't know.
Especially when these people are actually doing good things for the communities they're in.
But do I think in the immediate aftermath, like, should maybe they be dropped from their management and shit? Probably, because their management doesn't want to be attached to that.
I was going to say,
it was a decision you made, man.
It was definitely understandable that people would want to distance themselves.
Do I think that they should just be like, vanish forever and be banned forever and fucking just... never have a chance to redeem themselves. And everybody loves a comeback story, I'd like you to come back from an injury or cancer rather than saying something dumb and racist,
So maybe he should get cancer and that's what...
Yeah, exactly. But you know what I'm saying? Like, we need to decide who deserves forgiveness, when they deserve it, how do they receive this forgiveness from society and the public eye, and go from there. But, I mean, having said that, these people know what's going to happen. You've seen 1,000 examples, so why do we have this continued? The only thing I can think of is obviously that there is a certain level of, ego, or you think you can say whatever you want and get away with it. Or you think you're just that much of a comedic genius. Because I've heard comics say that too.
I'm just working it out, though.
You can make anything funny if you figure out a clever enough way or say it right. It's like, okay, but how is it worth it? I've heard comics say the N-word on stage.
Right.
Was it worth it?
Well,
how fucking funny do you think
Louis
you are?
C.K. once. I'll go back there. Louis C.K.
I heard him say it on a podcast with Patrice O'Neal. Now, because he was with Patrice, it lightened the blow because Patrice thought it was hilarious.
Right.
And it was in the context.
But in his special...
It was, people thought it was funny.
In his special, I still find that nigger made the shit out of my coffee.
Yeah, I can't.
It's
and you think
funny.
It's funny.
It's hilarious. And I don't know anyone who really has a problem with it. I'll see woke white people in 2020 bring it up.
And here's the other thing about like racism and the Tony Hinchcliffe situation.
Yeah.
And we all know it's true. For whatever reason, racism, people think of it as black and white.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Only
black and white.
Yeah.
And there's no gray area. And everything below a racial slur towards blacks.
Yeah, everything else is free game.
Is just, not necessarily free game, but less frowned upon or people feel like it's easier to get away with or not as big of a deal.
Right.
Because we all know if a black comic open for Tony Hinchcliffe, especially a black comic who is bigger than Tony Hinchcliffe, which would pretty much be any black person on the face of the planet. Very small. And
Besides Kevin Hart, any other black guy.
But even if, because he is just bigger as far as fame and everything, he wouldn't be open for Tony and Jill. Give me a fucking break.
Well, I mean, they were on the same show. It wasn't necessarily an opening.
But we all know if this is a black guy, there's no way he gets on stage afterwards. Even if the black guy was doing the hackiest, most stereotypical dumb material, and
black
they were laughing
jokes,
at it. And he thought these people shouldn't be laughing at this shit.
This is just pity.
Hack and it's making me sick.
Yeah.
No way he gets on stage and says, "Can you believe? Are you laughing at that filthy N-word?"
Yeah.
No fuck. Are you kidding me? There's no fucking way he says that.
Maybe he goes Negro,
no matter how
but not.
No matter how smart he thinks he is, because he's more afraid of the repercussions immediately from that black comic than he is this Asian guy.
Right, and he wasn't afraid of the repercussions socially. Because I think he thought he was playing on the social
and then he even did like
settings,
the hack like Asian voice and stuff. It was just bad.
I mean, referencing his bits, like referencing Peng's bits, but yeah, it was still
because that's
bad.
what apparently that's the story is that he was doing really hack like Asian jokes and that people were just eating it up. So he was basically giving the audience shit for from a comedy perspective for laughing at such hack, like just easy, low-hanging fruit material.
But was also using a low-hanging fruit.
That may be the case, but then you yourself are doing the same thing with the slur and the voice and the hack shit that you said. Which, so it's like, well, you put yourself on that same level as far as comedy.
So and then
you could have still done that without saying the word.
And that was my thing. Pick a lesser slur, dude. Say chopstick. No, I'm kidding.
Legitimately though,
like it's something lessen the blow.
Wrong with you, but like, there's so many, and you know, it's easy for all of us to say, you know, in hindsight, you shouldn't have said this, and then people also will use this excuse of like the. I don't know if you remember the country singer, but he was on camera,
Morgan Wallen.
Yeah, and said the N-word, but he was drunk. I can honestly say I get blackout drunk still, and I shouldn't. And it's just I don't say it because it's not in my vocabulary.
And it's usually there's a microphone in my face, and I still never say it.
It's just if you'd
be able to hear
especially you're yelling it.
Yeah.
Then that's just in your vocabulary, bud.
Right.
The I'm just drunk is not an excuse.
If it's a subconscious fallback, that means it's pretty active.
And God knows, just aside from slurs and shit, I mean, comics especially, amongst comics, would say shit that they wouldn't say on camera or with a microphone in front of their face too. But having said that, I'm talking about people who aren't famous. If I have any level of fame, which I don't, and I probably won't, I'm going to be a lot more careful.
Yeah. Well, that's where I'm tiptoeing. I'm tiptoeing when there's a camera and a microphone in front of me.
I mean, I don't know, dude. There's sides to the argument, you know.
And that's okay. But, so this is my last opinionated question, and then I'll take 2 more questions out of your time, maybe. But do you think? It's a weird thought. Do you think that comedians, when it comes to being socially aware, should be held to a higher expectation than someone in the corporate setting?
I mean, at this point, honestly, after the way I saw the president of the United States get a pass for 4 years, for saying the dumbest, most problematic, and dangerous shit.
Like all of our expectations.
It's one thing to say dumb shit as far as like he's smart enough not to use like racial slurs or homophobic slurs. He's certainly said things in the past and during his presidency that were racist and homophobic and like, or you knew he was beating around the bush and what he was really trying to say. But then to also like tell people COVID was a hoax and you're literally putting people at risk because you know that you have the biggest platform possible.
Right.
And you're very influential and these people do and say whatever you tell them. I mean, just you're literally almost responsible for people's lives. So if we're going to give that guy a pass to say like grab her by the pussy and all this shit.
Right.
And he's literally the president of the United States, the fucking leader of the free world.
Right.
Then how could at least, but then you know, this is specifically for those people. How could you ever fucking criticize a comic for saying anything or for having an opinion? You can't.
For having a quote unquote offensive opinion.
You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, now if you're not on that side of people who did criticize him and did think it was terrible that he was saying a lot of those things,
right,
and did think there should be repercussions, and didn't think he should be able to say whatever the fuck he wants whenever he wants,
right,
then yeah, to a certain extent, because I mean, we have to keep in mind that as a comic, your main objective is making people laugh,
right.
And if I mean, there's things I say now about cancer that I would have never said before I had cancer.
Right.
But even if I didn't, I mean, I joke about HIV and shit now that I've had cancer, comparing the two. And I'm doing it from a perspective where I obviously my goal is to make people laugh and to like shed light on a situation or make things easier for people to cope with or deal with or understand, or just, you know, it's cliche to say, but like comedy is therapy, I think, both for the comic and for people listening and laughing. So if you're coming from a good place, and I don't know, man, I think if you're just trying to be funny and you don't just say the words you know you can't say.
Yeah. So I think you do have to be more careful as a comedian because you have a definite goal with your words.
And there's people who don't agree at all. They think there's certainly things you shouldn't be able to joke about, and that's it. Right. And I've been in situations before, man, where I did a show up north at a brewery. It's a ton of fun. It's called the Ordock Brewery. If you ever get a chance, you should go up there. Oh, yeah. It's like mostly college students. And but anyway, there was a kid and his girlfriend in the audience, and I do a lot of crowd work, so I was messing with the audience, and it was doing well and getting laughs. And this girl was bigger than this kid. I don't mean she was like heavy. She was just naturally stocky. She was an above average sized woman, and her boyfriend was like smaller, like below average size dude, so I kept saying, like, you're probably gonna fucking take this guy out of here and beat the shit out of him later, and just kept poking, just making fun of, like, and I knowing that if you say something like that, culturally, girls get it when it actually does happen. Girls get away with domestic violence. It's a huge double standard. It is, but I'm not thinking about this in depth at the time. I'm just making jokes and talking about, like, oh, she probably, you know, because clearly it's just funny to think, like, oh,
it's always
probably bullying this guy.
Exactly. It's always funnier and easier.
And I keep going back to it, and it's getting laughs because just you know, visually it's funny because, you know, and so come to find out after the show, and this girl, mind you, is laughing the whole show. She's having a good time. And then after the show, her friend comes back and says, like, you know, my friend was a victim of domestic violence, and she was very upset, which there was no way for me to know this. Like, I guess I could have, and it also wasn't like, it was organic. It wasn't like it wasn't a bit. Right. I didn't write this beforehand, and then it wasn't premeditated. It came through, you know, crowd work, and I just said it in the heat of the moment because of the difference between the way they looked, and it was clearly like not something that was happening. Yeah, there's a clear joke. So to come to find out, this girl had like been abused in the past. There was no way for me to know this, but this girl was saying that she's very upset, and she demanded an apology, and she wanted me to go on social media and like make a public apology. And this was like, first of all, nobody knows who I am.
This was the tall girl?
No, this was her friend.
I know, but speaking for the tall girl?
Yes, exactly, because she's outside. And I'm like, well, she was laughing the show. I thought she was having a good time. If I can read body language and a person's face, and if I thought at any moment she wasn't enjoying this and she wasn't having a good time and she was upset, or there, you sound like Aziz right now. But go on. So exactly.
If there's one thing we're taught, it's to read the room. All right, lady.
So. But yeah, I was like, you know, nobody knows who I am, and if I apologize nobody's going to have any idea what I'm talking about.
No one's
Nobody
gonna
here
care.
tonight is even going to follow me on social media. Nobody's going to care. So that was just a situation where I'm like, this is kind of ridiculous.
Plus, also, you were putting her in the powerful stand. Like,
yes.
you were...
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was putting her in the, you know.
I was putting her in the driver's seat this time.
Exactly. And that not that would make it okay, but so I've been more mindful in the future, obviously, of I'm certainly not doing anything referencing
Let's just touch on domestic
violence via crowd work. But I mean, that as comics,
yeah, it's true.
In the way people react to things is you could make fun of this and this and this, and they're okay with that, and they're laughing because it's not relatable for them.
Right.
Or that thing has
not relatable to their trauma
in their life and
Yeah.
trauma, and then you could laugh at shit for 20 minutes, and then you say one thing that triggers them, and then suddenly it's a problem. You can't
Right.
pick and choose though what's okay for a comic to say based on your experiences in life. Like it's
And at some
so
point...
there's no way for us to know. You would have
Exactly.
to, if it ever got to the point where we have to just avoid everything. I mean,
Right.
somebody could literally be honestly offended by just about anything.
I think comics should be more socially aware and careful. Careful. No, I don't take the quotes around careful. Careful. Because, I mean, that's what writing is. Writing
Right.
is precision. It's careful. But also they deserve more the benefit of the doubt. Because, I mean, actual comedians, like funny ones,
Yes.
like they're trying to make a joke. What they're saying is coming from a perspective of this is supposed to be funny. Please laugh.
Yeah.
Because if you don't laugh, it just sounds sad or racist.
When I talk about cancer, even though I'm talking about me and my own experience,
right.
I know some people, it still rubs people the wrong way because everybody knows somebody close to them that passed away from cancer.
Right.
Who's currently, in a battle with cancer. And so it's always going to be weird. But it selfishly is just for me to help me cope and to help me deal with it. And just, I always think back. Have you ever saw the movie Patch Adams?
No.
Okay, well,
you can go on though.
there's a scene where Robin Williams there's this dude who's essentially on his deathbed, and he's a prick to all the staff, nurses, and everybody. And they're all trying to be nice and do the normal nurse shit, and he's not taking to any of it. He's just like throwing his fucking bedpan of piss across the room and won't eat and all this shit. So Robin Williams goes in there with like a thesaurus, and he's just reading off all these different words for death and like the definitions, and like essentially he's making fun of death.
Right.
And the guy laughs, and he's like the first person he opens up to, and he relates to it or he responds to it at least. And I think that's what comedy is for a lot of comics, where you want to try to tap into something maybe nobody else can from maybe a dark perspective, or doing something that it's not always going to be fucking puppets and, I think
Whatever
most
your
comedy is
creativity
derived
is.
from something negative. The good stuff, at least. It's much harder to make jokes or do comedy about a divorce than it is a marriage.
Right.
It's easier to do comedy about somebody dying than it is having a baby, or the opposite. So that's the way comedy is. That's the way I think comedy should be. Now, race is obviously going to be easier for somebody who's not white to do, because it's like.
Yeah.
You even see with age, like I remember when I started, and I see younger comics now who are kind of on stage and they're like bitching about this and that or life in general, and the rest of the people in the room who aren't 22 are like, "The fuck are you talking about, man?
Right.
What do you have to complain about? Yeah, you haven't even had any obstacles in life yet, maybe. I mean,
Well, I think the key there is making your struggles relatable.
Exactly.
Universally.
You want to be relatable. I don't think you should ever make it and some people do, but it shouldn't be your number one objective to just be relatable, because I think the best comedy is not loved by everybody.
Right. And it's
People
usually
are
personal
either super
shit
into it
too.
or not, and so relatable to an extent, and then likable to an extent, but you don't want to pander too much. So I don't know, man. There's a gray area, and it's comedy's tough.
Comedy.
Shit's hard, man. Comedy.
Shit's rough. All right.
Surprised he hasn't been canceled yet. He says a lot of controversial stuff.
It's the tone.
Yeah.
It's really it's a real comedic
well,
tone.
and he knows just not to say those words.
Exactly. He'll
How fucking hard is it, man?
He'll just say I'm gay and doesn't punch any further.
And that's fine.
All right. Shit, we've been here for a minute.
We have, dude, and I had a good time, man.
Likewise. Thank you so much for coming in. You guys can follow Adam Degi on everything at Adam Degi, just how it sounds. ADAMDEGI on the Twitter, on the Instagram.
The grammar.
Do you have anything you'd like to promote before we go?
When's this going to come out?
Tomorrow.
I've got a show the 28th on the east side of the state. Backyard show Johanna
Oh, hell yeah.
throws together.
Is
a lot
that
of
the
fun.
honorable mentions one or no?
I believe so.
Yes.
I believe that's the thing.
Hell yeah. I'm doing it next month, June.
Yeah, I'm excited. I couldn't do it before, and I'm going to do it now. And I don't know if there's tickets left, but you can certainly look. That should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, please, if you don't have a ticket, check it out. And they sold out last time, so it's bound to sell out.
And I'm going to record my second album at the Comedy Castle in Royal Oak the 10th through the 12th of January.
Woo!
So if you're on the east side,
Once again,
come out, laugh, bada boom, bada bing, and don't get cancer.
hell yeah. Wear your sunscreen. I've been Hunter Miles. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at @the_Hunter Miles. And you can follow the podcast on Instagram at Where Is This Going Pod and on Twitter at Where Is This GoPo. And I'm really starting to think we should put these plugs in the beginning. I really fucked up here. But thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Follow Adam Degi. Come see him perform live wherever you can. Thank you. Bye.
Holla.